Alex Answer here. Figured I would do a short little evening video. It is September 21st, 2015. Hope you're having a festive fall equinox. It's an interesting time to be alive. A lot of things happening on the planet. Talked about solar flares, recently uploaded my 2013 lecture on the subject. A lot of things happening in Costilla County as well. A lot of passions on both sides. I think that these increased passions and emotions on both sides are actually coming from something else. This is a very interesting time on the planet. A lot of things are taking place. A lot of things are going on with us as individuals. There's a lot of geoengineering taking place, by the way, in the San Luis Valley. For those of you that are new to my work, for those of you that are new to the term geoengineering, you're watching this on the internet. If you're watching this, open up a new tab if you don't mind, if you've got the time. Go to Google News, read official news, scientific publications where they're talking about what they're doing outside. And they're starting to do this a lot more. And we're talking about weather modification. We're talking about blocking out the sun. So you want to talk about outside forces, invasive outside forces that are polluting our air and polluting our bodies. One of the reasons that I chose to go off the grid is to get away from all the electromagnetic pollution. We talked about the cell phone towers. We talked about the smart meters. These things are not healthy for the human body. So I came here to get away from that. I came here to get away from the problems in the city. I came here to get away from, well, that right there. And that. And just all over. But I'm not that upset, you see. Because there's something inside us that is eternal. This body is temporary. So let's not get caught up in the small stuff, okay? And in relation to Costilla County, there's been a lot of anger directed at me. What I would like to say is there are people that want a political solution. They don't want to disrupt the lives of others. They want others to stop disrupting their life and trespassing upon their property. You know, I've been talking to a few people in Alamosa about what's going on here. Some people that are Hispanic, and they're shocked to hear what's going on. I've also heard stories about discrimination from those that are from San Luis, that left San Luis and came back to San Luis and were treated like shit. I've been taking a lot of things very personally, because I really wanted to come across in the right way. And we're working to communicate to the community here that has been here for some time that we are not the outside disruptors that have hurt you before. We are not the meth heads you are looking for. But we live out here, and if you can have it if you can open up your hearts to actually get to know us, we can be the eyes and the ears of this desert. There are some really good people that are coming together because of this threat, and it's a major threat. When you have our members of the community come out and say, you know what, we don't tolerate this anymore. It doesn't matter if it's your land. We passed this little thing here saying you can't camp here for more than 14 days. It's inhumane. And in no way is camping on one's property interfering with the life of those in San Luis. We should seek the truth whether we like the truth or not, and not tell ourselves lies, and not end up in a form of psychosis where we think everybody is out to get us. There are people in this world, in cities and rural communities, that are suffering from mental illnesses. And a lot of those mental illnesses come from everybody's out to get me. Everybody's out to steal from me. And there are issues like crime. You need to learn and understand that there's no way we can even deal with crime or social problems unless we come together and go beyond wherever our ancestors are from and how much money we have. I see classism and racism as barriers to people in this community coming together. So, the question is, we keep hearing about all this crime happening in Costilla County. And they're going to be ordering this wide array of tools, toys, riot cop gear, grenade launchers, major stuff. Is there any way we can get a memo on what crime's taking place? Is there a website, perhaps, the Costilla County Sheriff's Department is running? Is there any report at all on the internet relating to crime in Costilla County? Because so far, we're just hearing Espinoza say that there's crime. And we're waking up in a bright new world where we're hearing about the idea of camping being criminalized. And we're putting two and two together, and we're seeing what's happening throughout America. And I'm noting, whether some people are aware of it or not, how a lot of this is coinciding with other things taking place on our planet. An increase in energy from the sun. We're seeing more riots, protests, things taking place, geopolitical tensions. And this is a time where many Americans are experiencing the American refugee experience. I went to Alamosa today, by the way, and I've talked to a number of people. And more people have agreed that, yeah, in the last couple of years, Alamosa has dealt with a major heroin and meth problem. And right now, there's talks of a methadone clinic in Alamosa, which I'm not a fan of. I don't support the idea of putting a methadone clinic in Alamosa. And if there's some sort of a problem going on where there's that much heroin of that grade being done, it's a sign of a spiritual sickness going on within the community, and I think that needs to be addressed. Not a methadone clinic. So there are things going on internally and externally in our world that people need to be aware of. And if we just think that problems come only from the outside and there's nothing inside or within ourselves that's a part of the issue, then we can live our lives stuck because we're lying to ourselves. When I was in Portland, I talked quite a bit about the problems that outsiders had brought to our city from its very history. And the very history of Portland, Oregon, beginning with the Native Americans that lived there before those that created Portland. The Native Americans that lived in Portland lived in harmony with nature, and they hunted and fished along the Willamette River. Shortly after Lewis and Clark arrived, it was less than 10 years. Less than 10 years, the Native Americans, the Indians that lived in Portland, Oregon at that time were dead. To this day, Lewis and Clark are heroes. But they're no heroes of mine. But they're taught to children today in America that they were heroes because they came and they colonized this land and passed it on to those that followed. But you know what? The people of Portland, because the actions of their ancestors that created a whole Dante's Inferno in Portland, Oregon, human trafficking, prostitution, drug addiction, alcoholism, gambling, corrupt politicians, corrupt police, and a crimping game going on. Human trafficking, men would end up in Portland, get drunk, and wind up either knocked out, they would wake up on the ship as slaves, or they would be coaxed into signing their name on the dotted line and end up a slave legally, in a sense, under maritime law, law of the sea. Under a law of the sea, sign their own name. Many men in Portland ended up in Portland and woke up on a ship with no way to get back home. They were loggers, miners, and sailors. Generations later, many people have suffered in Portland, men and women. And it's an area where there's a fair amount of sex trafficking, human trafficking that's ironically followed that particular period in history. Do you think with the actions of the people of Portland today, the continuation of the greed, the materialism, do you think that I think that they have a bright future in the current America? I think what's actually happening here in Costilla County is spiritual warfare. It really doesn't have anything to do with race. There has always been some sort of a battle or struggle over this land, and periodically there's battles and struggles and conflicts over this area. And it's almost as if there's an evil spirit that wants to keep the people divided, constantly fighting for nothing and no reason whatsoever. There are people that live here that don't realize how blessed they are to be living in this part of America, because this is the part of America that may be one of the safest places in the years ahead when America is under siege and attack. If America is ever invaded, if there's ever a counterattack. You see, these things may sound a little far out to most people, but the truth of the matter is, if you look at what's really going on the planet right now, and geopolitically, and then you look at a map, and you look at where the major cities are in the United States, and you look at where the nuclear power plants are. Also think if we had a massive solar flare, there's no fuel to keep those power plants in operation. There'd be a meltdown, and there would be a major radiation problem. These are things that people have looked at for years, but our government has not acted in our favor to actually reinforce the grid. And in terms of China and Russia, follow along at thedailymatrix.com. A lot of important news is going to be posted there. Understand what's taking place is allowed to take place. All those other nations are ending up with U.S. weapons. Okay, this is by design. This coming world war is going to be a controlled one. Now take a look at where San Luis Valley is, where we are, and where the major populations are. This is actually going to be one of the safest places in America, and I suggest people move here in the coming years and actually train themselves to live self-sufficiently outside the dollar system, most especially outside of the welfare bubble. There are some people that are on disability that have come out here that are receiving social services, and there are many and some that are not. So, there's many reasons why this is a good place, and I would consider it, I see it as spiritual warfare, what is taking place. And I have seen psychosis in this valley before with people on the prairie that think that, because they have 5 acres that they own the whole area. And so just coming to nature and being in nature doesn't mean that you're automatically going to become enlightened or spiritual, or that you actually appreciate the nature and people that appreciate nature, seeing them as a part of nature, not beasts, animals, or pigs, or anything other that's derogatory. It is very clear to me that there are many people that live alongside nature that are also very disconnected from nature, that will actually spiritually attack those that came to live in closer harmony with the earth, either because they feel threatened or for some other reason. But that's ultimately what my honest view of this whole battle is in Costilla County. It's really just a physical reflection of something that's below the surface, not so easily detectable. I want to say that the true history of Lewis and Clark isn't really known to the people of Oregon and the devastation that it caused the Native American communities. And I think that also here in the San Luis Valley, specifically Costilla County, specifically the Rio Grande Ranchos, specifically the area where people like us, the prairie people, choose to live closer to Ute Mountain or Ute Mountain and some of the mesas. This area is beautiful, and who knows why some of us were called here or drawn here. I don't think it's very respectful of others to disrespect some of us that want to live close to the mountains. And honestly, anybody like that that's behaving in that manner, I don't think that they actually love this area, and I don't think those people actually love themselves. Because if they did and they were connected to their higher self spirit, they would see us for who we are. They wouldn't see us as the evil spirits of this valley see us, as things to be pushed on. Some things should be pushed on from this valley. People that come to burn, massive amounts of pollutants or dump them or bury them. People that hurt people that hurt animals. Certain people I don't think belong here. And I think other people I think have already earned the right to be somewhere like this. And one thing that people have to keep in mind that are watching some of these outsiders coming in and becoming very concerned, take into account the amount of traveling and knowledge some people this time around in this particular cycle or epoch are bringing to the San Luis Valley. This area has clearly seen a lot of devastation, violence, and it's seen a lot of people pushed off the land. I think that those are wounds that in a way need to be healed. So there's a certain energy here that's peaceful and silent, but inside the silence, there's a world of history. not just here in this particular area, but areas around Blanca. I'm actually going to start hiking Blanca pretty soon and working my way to some of the lakes, and I want to see the San Luis Valley lakes, which the Native Americans, one particular tribe, believe was the source of all life. And for a long time, I've been looking for this place. You know, it'd be nice if those of us in this community can actually have a dialogue about the true history about this place and what we really like about it. Instead, right now, it's starting to look like something from a movie. Things have been pretty calm the last couple of days, but it is comparative to a Wild West movie. Hopefully this time around, we can be a little bit more evolved than those that came before us, and instead of resort to violence, we resort to communication. The one thing that separates human beings from the animal kingdom of violence is the fact that we have the ability to speak and communicate. And even if I'm trying to communicate to someone on the street and they're telling me, no, you be quiet, let me talk. You be quiet, no, let me talk over you. With YouTube, I use this medium to actually say what needs to be said without interruption. Because there are too many people and things in this world trying to distract us and interrupt us from completing the thought and actually communicating truth with each other. And we need to see more of that. If there was any videos coming from the community, I would be watching them. I don't watch everybody's videos, nor do I have the time for it. But I have always appreciated the independent voice, even if I don't agree with them. Male, female, especially minority. When they are of a minority class and they are speaking out against injustice, I'm attracted to that. And I think that's what we need to see more of in our world. I have said enough. It is September 21st, 2015. It is the fall equinox. Many things going on in our world. Eclipses, solar flares, major things taking place within Wall Street, the stock market, and major moves in Syria with the Russians there, and China soon to join them. Watch what's taking place there. And just at the very least, be grateful for what you have. No matter how bad things may seem economically, no matter how scary the outsiders may be that may have moved into your town. Take a look at actually what's really going on in America right now. Take a look at people that are refugees that are trying to get into Europe. Take a look at the hatred in Europe towards those that are refugees and all these people being labeled terrorists. Be grateful for a moment that you're not them right now, living that refugee nightmare. I'm Alex Ansari, signing off September 21st, 2015.